What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman. Hopefully by now you've had a chance to see the second episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It was great seeing a lot of you live last night on the channel for the watch along party. We're going to be doing that every Friday for Disney Plus shows. Either way, if you haven't watched it already, go ahead and watch it and come back. We're going to do our normal Easter egg and full recap breakdown, talk about every Captain America that was introduced. A lot of you had questions about Isiah Bradley's backstory in the comics. We're going to talk about exactly what happened with him and why he was put in jail, what his grandson may do in the future, joining the Young Avengers, and of course talk about John Walker's introduction and where the narrative is headed into episode 3. We're going to break down all the Easter eggs and talk about everything Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 2. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we're still giving away a PlayStation 5 at 800,000 subscribers, which we are going to hit any day now, as well as Disney Plus subscriptions every Friday while the shows are live. In fact, we'll announce a new winner at the end of this video. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do, hit the subscribe button, then leave a comment down below. And if you want, stick around to the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there, and like I said, announce a brand new winner. So as you guys have become accustomed to here at the channel, normally when we do these videos for either a movie or the Disney Plus shows, we go chronologically throughout the film, starting at the beginning, go scene by scene, talk about the dialogue and the Easter eggs. However, in this video, we're going to start with my main point of interest from the entire episode and what I saw immediately in the comments, and that's the introduction of the old school black Captain America, Isiah Bradley. I want to talk about his story in the comics, how it lines up perfectly with the story that's already been told in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how it illustrates the government's continued want and need to control super soldiers, with the greater implications not only for the immediate MCU, see other super soldiers during this episode, but establishing other clandestine covert weapon programs like Weapon Plus, and then eventually Weapon X that lead to you-know-who in Wolverine, but we get ahead of ourselves. In the comics, Isiah Bradley, like Steve Rogers, was a New York City native. He met Faith Shabazz, the two fell in love and were married in 1940. They had a daughter in Sarah Gale Bradley. He left to enlist in the Army after Pearl Harbor. After losing the secrets of the super soldier serum with the death of Dr. Erskine, the United States Army still wanted to produce more super soldiers like Steve Rogers. Colonel Walker Pierce and Dr. Wilfred Nagel forcibly recruited Isiah and 300 other African-American soldiers to serve as test subjects to try and recreate the super soldier serum. To keep the operation a secret, families were sent letters informing them of the soldier's death. However, Faith always refused to accept Isiah's death and continued to look for the truth. Of the 300 African-American soldiers, only a handful of men survived the gruesome process. The survivors became a covert black ops team, and after only a few missions, only Isiah, Maurice Canfield, and Sergeant Luke Evans remained. Ironically, Bradley's last assignment was to stop the development of a German super soldier formula and destroy a Nazi death camp in Schwarzbitte, Germany. Before leaving on the mission, Isiah took a Captain America costume and a shield. His mission was successful, but he was also captured. Luckily, while being transported, he was rescued. He was able to finally return home, where he was promptly court-martialed, charged with treason, and given life in prison for stealing the Captain America costume. Starting in 1943 in the comics, and they've obviously moved this forward to match the MCU timeline, Isiah served 17 years in solitary confinement. They made it 30 in the show. There, his body and mind slowly started to deteriorate due to unforeseen side effects of the super soldier serum, which we started to see a little bit in the show as well. He was only released because Faith, his wife, wrote President Eisenhower a letter every month for 3 years. In 1960, on the day of the Kennedy inauguration, Isiah was granted a full pardon and sworn to secrecy, which is why his story isn't known, although the legend of Isiah Bradley, the Black Captain America, goes on to spread in the black community. Now, there are so many parts of his comic book origin that line up perfectly with the MCU. This is why Steve Rogers and Sam, none of them would have known about him. The only reason Bucky knows is because Bucky faced him in combat. They also made sure to let you know his power level was on par with Steve Rogers, as he gave Bucky a run for his money, and as he said to him straight to his face, he whooped his ass. You can also see why he's so agitated and doesn't want to talk about this, and why he took offense when Bucky said there's other people like you and me. He was forced into these experiments in the first place, was one of the only people to survive. He then still fought on behalf of the American government after they used him as a guinea pig, and his reward for all of that was being sentenced to prison because he took the Captain America costume and shield to use it in battle. Meanwhile, there's a museum to Steve Rogers, who also wore the costume and the shield. He spent 2 decades in solitary confinement and tells us during the show they still used him like a guinea pig, and then after all that, after he was finally pardoned, was sworn to secrecy so that he could never tell his story. Again, meanwhile, Steve Rogers has a museum, and now a brand new John Walker Captain America is proudly sanctioned and announced by the government. An enormous double standard. You can clearly see the parallel as well to Sam Wilson's story, although it was a little bit different with Steve passing him the shield. Specifically, Sam Wilson may have taken up the mantle as Captain America without the government's sanction, and this is essentially what Isiah Bradley spent decades in prison for, which is an absolutely hypocritical double standard. Now, also very important to note, Eli Bradley is probably the young kid in this scene, and he's going to go on to become Patriot in the Young Avengers. It's due to a blood transfusion. He also takes mutant growth hormone, which is a thing in the comics, and who knows, might end up becoming a thing in the MCU by the time we actually get to Young Avengers, but they've been steadily introducing members like Wiccan and Speed, who we know will return in the Multiverse of Madness. It's a dead giveaway the Young Avengers are being set up now clearly in the MCU, and Eli Bradley will go on to become Patriot, a member of that team. We saw him introduced here during this scene. This is a super damning revelation for the US government, wanting to keep this quiet. It goes ahead and sets a precedent for them to have clandestine weapons operations like Weapons Plus, Weapons X. We get to find out what the government is really up to, and even though this is sort of filling in a time we haven't seen in the MCU, this directly mirrors a sentiment we've gotten from the US government throughout the entirety of the Infinity Saga, starting all the way back when S.H.I.E.L.D. was trying to use alien technology to make weapons. Fast forward to Thunderbolt Ross, his obsession with superheroes and wanting to control them underneath the Sokovia Accords. Then even more recently in the WandaVision series with Director Hayward wanting to control Vision, as Vision put it, a weapon to be more easily controlled is what he was hoping to accomplish. This metaphor and the point that they're trying to make is very easy to understand in the context of Sam's narrative, and should put you in mind of that conversation between Steve and Tony during Civil War. Steve asking, what if they send us into some place we shouldn't be, or even worse, what if they won't let us go someplace we should? All about where the power and the responsibility lies, and as Sam is finding his way to taking up the mantle of Captain America, he's learning these lessons. Now, speaking of taking up the mantle of Captain America, the other Captain America we're introduced to is none other than John Walker. Now, keeping in the theme of this video not being chronologically ordered, of course, the last piece of dialogue we get from him in the episode when he tells Bucky and Falcon to stay the hell out of his way, after Falcon explains that they've got different rules of engagement and it wouldn't make sense for them to work together anyway. That has some ominous music set along with that dialogue, definitely meant to imply that A, he might snap at any minute, and that there might be some villainous overtones or some malicious intention from John Walker. But right off the bat, with his introduction scene, I felt like the writing really tried to humanize and endear this character to us. Yeah, I saw the comments during the live stream and sort of got the inkling that he was giving off some massive Homelander vibes from the beginning, maybe a little too cocky and maybe very sure of himself, and this brooding sort of may snap at any moment character. But when the reporter on Good Morning America during the hometown pep rally is trying to enumerate all of his achievements, he immediately downplays them, says that he's not Tony Stark or Dr. Banner, doesn't have, quote, the flashiest gadgets or super strength, also signaling to us, the audience, that he is not super soldier serum enhanced. However, I think that was sort of left open-ended during the episode. I saw a couple of people say the way he threw the shield made it look like he is, but yeah, we've seen Falcon in the trailers throwing the shield the same way, and he's not superpower enhanced. In the comics, however, US Agent John Walker definitely was superpower enhanced, and that came from none other than the Power Broker, the same Power Broker they mentioned during this episode. So whether he's enhanced yet or not may be part of the narrative, and he may soon end up in debt to the Power Broker the way that he did in the comics during this episode. We'll have to see how that plays out. But since we're talking about the comic introduction of John Walker in the first place, I think it's important to point out that he was originally introduced as the super villain, Super Patriot in Captain America 323. That was in November of 1986. Mark Grunwald, who was the continuity officer over at Marvel and whom the people at the TVA were all modeled after. We're going to see the TVA in the upcoming Loki series. Mark Grunwald created Walker to counter the general message of Captain America of patriotism patriotism being invariably good, describing him as someone who embodied patriotism in a way that Captain America didn't. Basically the exact opposite, the antithesis, a patriotic villain. This is his quote. Basically, I just wanted to do the opposite of Steve Rogers. Okay, Steve Rogers is a poor northern urban boy, so I'll make this guy from a rural middle class South. Cap is now old, so I'll make this guy real young and up and comer. Cap has lofty ideas, so I'll make Super Patriot be more realistic and more pragmatic. So I put together his background and his character traits by playing the opposite game. If that's true and holds true into the series, at least at the beginning, John Walker is not going to be a good guy, and as I said, if he doesn't already have superpower enhancement, he may end up getting it from the power broker, which leads to part of his narrative and why he ends up in the debt of the power broker in the first place, why he finds himself on the opposite end of the battlefield from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, maybe by the end of the series. Now, alongside the introduction of John Walker as the new Captain America, and after they all meet up and fight the Flag Smashers for the first time during the episode, we get the introduction of his sidekick Lamar Hoskins, who's already going by the name Battlestar. Now, if you sensed some tension between Bucky and Battlestar in the car, he rolls his eyes, he makes him stop the truck, he hops out. That's because in the comics, Lamar Hoskins actually took the alias first of Bucky. That's right, he took the name of Bucky, named after the original Bucky. He was a member of the group called the Bold Urban Commandos, BUCs, the Bucks, get it? Took the mantle of Bucky, then went on to become Battlestar, and much like US Agent John Walker, he receives his superpower enhancement from the Power Broker as well. Now, using this to segue into the narrative, as she's later named in the episode by John Walker, Carly Morgenthau, the leader, after she's put up in the German safe house, she receives a text, an unknown private number that says, "You took what was mine, and I'm going to find you and kill you." Now, I saw some people make some conjecture about who and what this may be, referring to the vaccines they had on the truck. Maybe it's Thunderbolt Ross, maybe it's John Walker. It's certainly the Power Broker, and what they stole was the super soldier serum they used to enhance themselves. Get it? The Power Broker, he's the one who can broker that kind of power. It's referring to their enhancement, their super soldier serum, and I think that's part of what the Flag Smashers are standing for, standing against this Power Broker being able to have enhanced individuals. We may find that enemies become friends and friends become enemies when all is revealed in who they stand for. But up until this point right now, we're not supposed to know who the Power Broker is. We'll have a video coming out on that later. It's been a point of much contention here so far with the series. And as you can clearly see now, they're starting to set up a clear narrative. You have John Walker working on behalf of the US government as Captain America with Battlestar beside him. You have Falcon and Bucky, who are free agents, trying to get to the bottom of why they ran into brand new super soldiers on this mission, and the only way they think they can do that is to find out more about Hydra. That's why at the end of the episode, when Bucky says he's the only one who knows all Hydra's secrets, Falcon goes, "Fine, we're going to see Zemo." They want to head to Baron Zemo and hopefully get him to help them find out whatever they need. And I think this is, again, starts to play into the whole Captain America Winter Soldier of it. Who's really on whose side? Who can be trusted? Who can't be trusted? That's why John Walker being introduced as Captain America when he may be a villain, the Flag Smashers introduced as terrorists when they may be freedom fighters, the Power Broker remaining anonymous. It's setting up all these moving pieces without intentions. I think there may be a little bit of some misleading going on here already. The only real compass or litmus test we're going to have throughout the entire episode and series is going to be Sam and Bucky, only because we know where they stand from their story leading back into the Infinity Saga. The rest of the characters introduced, Sharon Carter included, we have no idea whose side they're going to be on. For all we know, any of these characters could honestly be Skrulls. In fact, I guarantee that one of these characters is a Skrull leading into Secret Invasion. That aside, I think some misleading is going to be going on with what's going on with the plot and the narrative, and I think certain things are going to be revealed along the way that are going to end up seeing different characters in different lights. John Walker is the least of all these, and as I've put forth in some theory videos, and I'm going to hold to it because it may be true, if he's not already super soldier enhanced, and they're not going to choose to do that via the Power Broker, if he's not truly going to become US Agent in the future of this series, then I could see a situation where John Walker ends up getting smoked or murked, maybe in the next episode, and maybe even at the hands of Bucky. Now, it's a little bit of a stretch at that, but you could start to see the antagonism, how vindictive Bucky was being at the end of that episode, and then we found out when they were doing the quote-unquote mock couples therapy that the reason he wanted Falcon to keep the shield was if Steve Rogers wasn't right about him being worthy, then he wasn't right about Bucky being worthy of redemption. Also, we know from the comics that the shield could have and would have gone to Bucky and not Falcon in the first place. So some degree of him says, hey man, if you weren't going to represent that shield, I could have. Of course, in the MCU, that went out the window since he's been a major assassin, pardoned from the president or not. Either way, we have a situation now set up where the power of the shield holds Bucky's redemption. It holds the actualization for Falcon becoming the hero that he's meant to be, and that's what plays into that comment, that quote from Isiah Bradley said, you can't just wake up and decide who you're going to be, and you see Falcon squint his eyes. I believe that's because Falcon Sam Wilson does not agree with that. You can wake up and decide who you're going to be. You can do that every single day, and I think this show is a lot about Sam Wilson deciding that he is going to wake up and be Captain America. Guys, let me know all your thoughts down below for all of these, the character introductions, all of the misleading, where we're going with the narrative, what you expect from Baron Zemo and Sharon Carter's introduction into the narratives, how do you think this is all going to work out, who you think the power broker is, and if you think we're going to get any scenes with Isiah Bradley's old school Captain America. A lot of people were asking for that immediately. I would love to see it. I just don't know if there's place in the narrative for it. Let me know all your thoughts down below, and quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We're still giving away a PlayStation 5 at 800,000 subscribers, which we are going to ding any day now, as well as Disney Plus subscriptions every Friday while the shows are live. In fact, let's go ahead and announce a brand new winner. Brooklyn Bleak for this comment right here. Thank you so much for your support at the channel. I sincerely appreciate it. Go ahead and DM me at IamFires on Instagram, or email me on my business email. It's on the about section of this channel. We'll get your account verified and get the prize right out to you guys, and it's that simple. If you want to be entered to win the Disney Plus subscriptions, the PlayStation 5, any of the other prizes we give away at the channel, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button because you need to be a subscriber, then leave a comment down below. Because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be selected and then announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content, of course, is to hit that notification bell with notifications turned on. And as always, if you enjoyed today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me over Twitter and Instagram at IamFires. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, and every other musical platform with original music under All Fires. Thanks so much for checking out the channel, guys, and stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.